But and during the break, we were talking about Uber, and you've been ranting about Uber for the longest period of time. And I think to the casual viewer, they won't know that Uber isn't a very profitable company. In fact, it's
They
not
made no
made.
money ever.
In fact, they've not made until recently. They've not announced profit. So why has that happened? Because when you think of Uber, you think of how they've transformed travel. Like people have the app on the phone, they can rely on it wherever. Now you've got rickshaws, you've got in certain places you've got boats, you've got helicopters, you've got all of that. But why is Uber not being profitable? Is it have they been relying too much on venture capital funding? What's been the reason for that?
There are many factors to what Uber does, but before I talk about their profitability, let's talk about their business model.
Hmm.
What is Uber? It's a platform. It's not a cab service. They don't call themselves a cab service.
Yeah.
It's a data company. It's something that brings a needy driver to a needy customer, and it's like the Tinder for them.
Yeah. Middleman basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not. They don't own their cabs. They don't own. They don't employ their drivers. It's freelance.
Yeah.
So it's not something that they own. So now the question is, a company that has no capital expenses, in a sense that they don't buy their cars, they don't employ their drivers, so they don't have to pay them insurance, they don't have to give them anything. Why don't they make money? So
Yeah.
what's their what is driving their expenses up? And this is where I feel bad for Uber. They can never be profitable, because when you think of a service industry, anything online, which is what they are, when you deliver a product at a good quality, you will the customer will tell their good experience to another person, and that is organic marketing for them. So they don't have to pay to acquire that customer. But in terms of Uber, now if they deliver a good service in LA, it affects me in no way or form. So nobody from LA is telling me that Uber does a good job. So their marketing expenses need to go towards LA, they need to go towards Pune. So the organic marketing is not a thing for Uber. So that is one of the reasons why their marketing spends are absurdly high. Because no matter what they do, they need to market it in every tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 city. And the problem is, Uber has always had the vision of being a global company. They have never wanted to dominate the US.
But are they not a global company?
They are a global company.
Yeah.
But the problem is, when you go to a new country, the marketing and advertising resources that a US has will be very different to what a Bahrain has or what an India has.
Of course, yeah.
So the prices for your advertising will vary from country to country. The laws will vary from country to country. And a major chunk of their revenue goes in legal expenses, because people end up filing a lot of cases against Uber.
Like what are the cases?
Driver accident,
Okay.
somebody dying. It can be a legislation thing. Who has given you the authority to decide that a person, let's say if I wanted to become an Uber driver, I can do that in India.
Yeah.
So I have my personal vehicle, I can apply to their platform, I can become a driver for them. But if I want to do that from, let's say, Japan, Japan may put restrictions on me. They may need a special license for me before I can apply to Uber. So it is regulatory. So Japan doesn't want stupid drivers to be given the authority to become a driver for any civilian.
Yeah.
Because if I am a driver, I kill somebody, whose fault is that? Is it my fault because I'm a freelancer to Uber? Is it Uber's fault for employing me? So Japan is conflicted.
But you're not an employee, right? You're just someone they've outsourced it.
But who gives me the right to become a driver? Because when you look at the US, the US has specific regulations on who can be a taxi driver. I think they call the hash regulations or something like that.
Okay, so they have a special test for it and something that way.
So a special license, a special registration, you have to register your car, you have to register the state, because it's a state regulated country. So everything is different in the US.
Okay.
So being a global business, there's so much regulatory cost that they have to incur that it is not possible for them, because these legal costs have nothing to do with their business. It's just something that they have to keep spending if they want to grow. So it's an irony that the better you do, the more you grow, the more you lose.
Yeah.
So that whole concept of Uber being a profitable cab company or a cab service doesn't exist, because like a third of their revenue goes in legal charges. Then after that, they have crazy marketing spends. So now the gamble that Uber were taking was they were highly dependent on self-driving cars becoming a thing.
Yeah.
So if self-driving cars would have been very relevant in society, then they don't have to employ drivers. They can buy their cars. But the complication to that is, again, capital costs go high. So they'll need investors.
Yeah.
So it's difficult for them to make money even in their ideal scenario. So that makes you question their entire business model.
But what about people that are still investing money into Uber?
Data. It makes sense for them. Like if I am somebody that travels from, let's say, Kondwa to Vimannagar on a daily basis, okay, they can target ads to me.
Yeah.
They can sell me products that will make... Now Kondwa Vimannagar is too short a distance, even if it's something that I do from city to city.
Yeah.
So then there are multitude of ways for them to target ads to me. They sell my data. So that is a revenue source for them. And when you think of these BlackRock type investors, they don't care about Uber making money.
Yeah.
They care about the data they get, and then they sell that data to their partner companies that give them the profit and make their money back.
Yeah.
So it's not a loss-making enterprise for them, for the biggest investors.
Yeah.
So now the issue is, how does Uber solve their profitability problem? So that's a problem with every new age startup, because you're so revenue driven that you forget net profits. You forget how much money you actually make in the bank. So how do you solve that?
Yeah.
And that is a question that Uber has not been able to figure out for 15 years. To lose $32 billion in 15 years and still pick up money from the market. Can you imagine how incompetent that is? $32 billion. That would make you top 30 richest men in the planet.
Yeah.
So you lost so much of money. You have no roadmap to profitability even in the next decade. You ask the founder of Uber, when will you start making money? And he'll say, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that is a problem. After 15 years of incorporation, if you can't make money, then you're basically useless.
What about the recent profit that they announced? What was that?
That's something that they made because what they did is Uber have scrapped a lot of their tier 3 cities.
Okay.
So their marketing costs went down, and it's just a profit for a quarter, actually. It's not, I think in the previous quarter, year on year, they might have lost some, I don't know the exact figure, but they lost a bucket load of cash. So that's an issue. But like they made money because they dropped a lot of cities actually recently.
So was it only from India or worldwide?
Global.
Okay.
Uber profits are released
globally only. But so now say you are king of the world and you have a chance to make Uber profitable. How do you do it?
Uber would hire me if I was that smart. Like...
no, but just a best case scenario. What do you think they're doing wrong?
I would actually take a lot of inspiration from Amazon, because Amazon doesn't make conventional profits either.
Yeah.
Because, when you think of an Uber, how they made their brand is by undercutting the opposition. So taxi unions were charging a certain fee. Let's say they were charging $50.
Yeah.
So Uber is saying that, okay, we will make a loss, let you travel that distance for $40, take the $10 loss on our head, but they've basically made taxi unions obsolete.
Yeah.
So their gain is, it's like they're paying a premium to get rid of their competitor. That's what printers do. You think of Canon, you think of these big printer companies. What they do is, the biggest companies, they like undercut their opposition so much that small companies cannot compete.
Yeah.
And these big companies can absorb these losses. So what they do is, a printer that costs them, let's say, $10 to make, they're selling it for $8, taking a $2 loss, and then they're making money through supplementary products like ink.
Yeah, it's basically what Amazon
Yeah.
is doing. Like
So
they are not making money from the delivery; they are making it from web services and
from
other things.
AWS.
Yeah,
So if you're making that printer for 10, selling it for 8, and then selling your ink cartridge for $10, your basic, and ink is cheap to produce.
yeah,
So they're making money from supplementary products and then they're funding their losses. So that's what sharks do.
yeah.
So they're killing the opposition, they take them over and then they absorb them. So that's what Uber did. So now the problem is
But Uber had come in with Uber Eats as well, and then that
it's in India it's shut down.
it shut down. But how is it doing globally?
It does pretty well actually. If you talk about the American market, Uber is still like the primary source for cabs and for food delivery.
yeah.
But now the problem is they're unable to undercut things like DoorDash and Lyft. So Lyft has taken a big chunk of their market.
Yeah,
So now the problem is they need to market even more. And to market even more, they need more money. And now the problem is investors are not coming into the market as readily because of recession and war fears. So interest rates are going high, loans have become difficult to get, and you're not getting investors anymore. Because how much can you value Uber at?
yeah. You can't.
Because if you're not cash flow positive, you're not making money, you have no roadmap to making money, and now you have a legitimate competitor. So why don't I invest in them? So now you made 15 years of investor capital by undercutting your opposition, but now you have an opponent that cannot be undercut. So why don't I go to them? Because they're only going to get bigger. You're essentially very close to your peak. So why do I put money into you? I'll put money into them. So Uber is stuck. It's difficult for them to raise money now, and they're losing a bucket load of cash year on year. So that's why now they are focusing on profitability.
Okay.
So this is why I've been very critical of Uber, because it's a horrible business strategy. And it's one of those services that you cannot make profitable. Think of an Ola. Think of a Rapido or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't make money because it's not possible to make money. It's like the biggest business irony. The more you grow, the more you lose.
But then why do people get into these kind of things if they're not making money?
Easy investors. Because, investment had become such a foolish thing. It reminds me of the real estate crisis in 2008, which caused the recession. That's what's going to happen because of bad investing right now. Within the next 5 years, you will see recession.
Worldwide or here?
Globally.
Because globally it's started in some places.
It's UK is in recession. I think
Yeah.
Netherlands and Belgium are in recession. So
Europe
it's going to be
mainly.
global.
Yeah.
India may not be hit by recession
And why is that?
because prime time investors, the capital that they're investing is negligible in a global scenario. So if I'm investing, let's say 20 crores into a new startup, 20 crores is nothing.
Yeah, and there are also companies pulling out of China and coming to India, so
Yeah.
that's going to add to jobs in the market. So those things will happen.
And India in general is growing a little too quickly because of infrastructure spend.
Yeah.
So it's becoming cheaper to produce here. People are coming to India. The manufacturing index has gone high. Service exports have gone high. So India is actually booming.
Yeah.
I think they put up their GDP forecast for 7.3% or something, which is unbelievable in 2023. And I think it was the highest. Second was China at some 6 point something, and then everybody's in like the 2s and the 3s. So India is like growing at a very high rate,
Yeah.
and that's going to continue for the next 30 years. So India is going to be very relatively safe.
As long as there's ease of doing business and setting up businesses here. Because some countries have that issue where it's difficult for foreign players to come in.
Yeah, India used to be that country.
Yeah, it used to
but
be
now they've scrapped a lot of regulatory issues, like the issues that Uber used to face.
Yeah.
So they've scrapped a lot of those documentations and all of that, licenses. And they're giving licenses for, I think, 10 or 12 year cycles now.
Okay.
So it's not, it used to be 3 year cycles. So now they've gone up to 10, 12, 15, 20 year cycles. So you go through the hassle once and then just reward the 20-year growth story of India. So that's what they're doing, and it's working.
It's working, yeah.
So in that sense, India is quite safe.
But say now you were supposed to start a cab service or something.
I would never do that.
I know,
don't
but
want to imagine it also.
Just say if you were to and you were to go differently, what would you do? You would ensure you have a fleet of cars first before you go public, or what? How would you like to do it?
I really don't know actually, because it's so difficult to own a car because you have to insure it, you have to service it. Depreciation costs are unbelievable. If I buy a 10 lakh rupee car, I take it out from the showroom and just take a U-turn and take it back to the showroom.
The value is reduced, yeah.
Value is reduced by like maybe 20%.
That's too much.
They're not, see, even if it's 5 to 10% or 15%, it's too big a loss for me taking a U-turn.
It's not over a U-turn, it's over a period of time.
Car depreciation,
I know it
you
begins
bought
the
your car,
moment
try
you
selling
buy
it. Try selling it 2 days later and you'll not get the same price.
Yeah, obviously you won't get the same price, because if you get the same price, they just buy it from the showroom. But you will probably get 50% less, 50,000 less, which is fine, right? If you, in 2 days, if you want to sell your car, you
But
can't.
isn't 50,000 too big of a depreciation loss in 2 days?
I mean, what do you do then? You can just go to the showroom and buy a new car. And if there's someone who instantly wants a car and not willing to wait, you can sell it for that price too.
But that's going to be down to the seller.
Yeah, of course.
So it's not something that's a given. So again, that the problem with like any cab services, even Ola faces it, even
Yeah, of
Uber
course.
faces it. Car depreciation rates are very high. Secondly, maintenance is very high. That's the reason why Uber doesn't own their cars.
Yeah.
They run away from it. They're saying, I'm never going to take care of like 1 million cars globally.
Yeah, of course, it's difficult to do that.
It's very difficult
Yeah.
to do that. That's why I feel bad for them. But I feel worse for people who think that they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, people have this very weird misconception. If a company makes it big, they're doing well. It's not the case.
Yeah.
Because those companies can come down to zero in a span of a second. And that is the problem. Because if you're a resilient company, a Reliance will never go out of business in 2 days.
Yeah.
And Uber can. Like, how did Evergrande go out of business essentially? Because they went broke.
Yeah.
That's never going to happen to a Tata or a Reliance. So that's a good business, and that's a hyped business.
Yeah.
Because you're investor obsessed. And if you're dependent on investors, you don't have a business. You're just selling yourself to the world. So it makes no sense.
So it's a basic no on investing in car rental services.
I haven't personally seen any service industry make cash flow positive money.
Okay.
Any service. If Amazon isn't making money with their service industry, if Uber is not making it, God bless you if you think you're going to make it.
Yeah, but Amazon's intentionally doing that, right? They want to offer better prices than you would get at your local store because they're making money elsewhere.
Yeah, so they're undercutting
They're
it.
undercutting it.
So even if you see it, Amazon, it's not a store. They're getting individual sellers to sell it on a platform. So
Of course.
again, it's an Uber model.
Yeah.
So they're not a DMart. So they're just an online platform where they're like, if you want to start a business, it's open to all. Come, sell, take the profit, we take a cut, go home.
Yeah.
That's how simple their model is. And Amazon's model is actually a lot more bulletproof because they sell all kinds of things. So depreciation on a book is practically nothing.
Yeah.
But the depreciation on a car is a problem. Hiring a driver is a problem.
Yeah.